Wizards of the Coast still has to pay for the mistakes of its past, with previous set designs and all of those issues coming to head in Outlaws of Thunder Junction, with the release coming with 3 different set symbols in the booster packs that you can find. As confusing as alt arts and foils can get, we have another set called the Vault, or the Big Score, which is supposed to act like an Aftermath style set. Remember March of the Machines and how big of a flop that was? And we're really getting that back. But I want to talk about what that actually means, and that's really going to change the way you should be looking at this set in general. And really, with Aftermath, it was a functionally lore and financial fail for Wizards of the Coast. And with the rising cost of cards, rising cost of living, and with Modern Horizons 3 just around the corner pricing you out of sorry, I'm rambling. Back to the point of March of the Machines, which was released on May 12, 2023 with mixed reception, as it was touted as not a normal set, not a normal expansion, being a micro set of 50 cards that was released as a follow-up to the original March of Machines set. And in March of Machines, the story goes that the whole multiverse was being invaded by Phyrexian, with many of our beloved characters being completed, essentially turned Phyrexian and brought under its rule. But the problem was that all of a sudden, in the very same set, they weren't. For example, we have a card like Mirrodin Avenge showing Karn holding Elish Norn's head. And what about flavor text on Render Inert, which reads, as new Phyrexia phased out of existence, glistening oil all across the multiverse was cut off from its sources. The completed invaders ceased to function and crumpled to the ground. So that was it. I mean, all of a sudden, a multiversal Thanos Infinity Stone level threat was just wiped out of existence. I mean, heck, Jace the Mind Sculptor, one of the most iconic planeswalkers of old, turned to Jace the Living Castaway into a sorry image of its old self, had now become Jace the Perfected Mind. More like Jace the Unprotected. Am I right? I mean, the Magic story literally talks about how Jace and Vraska are doing the lovey-dovey unprotected, with Vraska ended off by saying, I think we would have known by now if it worked, essentially, which is probably the equivalent of a 16-year-old's Tumblr fanfic, but that's a whole other discussion. The bigger problem of March of Machines Aftermath, it served as an epilogue of sorts, a ending to the high-strung madness of the Phyrexian invasion. And if the scope of ending off such a grand story sounds insane to you, because it is, well, they didn't really accomplish it. It was a set that had 50 cards in it, 15 of which were uncommon, 25 of which was rare, and then the rest being mythic. With that, we saw that the packs themselves only had 5 cards. Y'all were supposed to be playing full price for 5 card boosters, which is insane considering the set before that literally just had 15 card boosters. Of course, one of the big attractions was the fact that you had the alternate treatments and all these different foils in there, a guaranteed version of it in those packs. Y'all know how flat, non-curly, and completely competitively viable those cards are, right? It's not like anything happens to their conditions. Ultimately, the packs were a failure. It's crazy to be forcing people to be paying for these type of packs. I mean, if you go on MTG stocks right now, literally the most expensive card above $15 that is not a non-foil card or alt art treatment is Nissa. It's crazy to me that that card is actually like $25+ or something. But again, that's like the only card above $15 that isn't some alt art treatment. So it's not like the set is worth anything. It's not really just about the finance bro cashing in their spec products that they'll gouge you off of on online retailers, or lore specialists getting wound up over the fact that Marvel movies have better storylines than fantasy writers. It's really the fact that it's being repeated, it's being doubled down. And with Outlaws of Thunder Junction, we almost saw that happen with the Big Score, and actually kind of do as it's being released in the same packs. I mean, take this Q&A article that Mark Rosewater was involved with, where someone asked if they would do a Aftermath set again, and he specifically says, we often ask players to rank a set on a scale, and then we look at the top 2 box scores, meaning how many people rated this one of the 2 top ratings. It's a common metric used in data research. March of the Machines, the Aftermath, has the lowest top 2 box score for a randomized booster product we've ever had. And this leads us to 2024, where we see the release of the 100th Magic set, Outlaws of Thunder Junction, being set on the backdrop of a Western genre, a frontier fantasy, if you will. The set has returning big characters being outlaws and committing crimes, and there's even a bonus sheet along with it called Breaking News. And now this alt art set has already been discussed in a previous video of mine, talking about cards like Archive Trap and Surgical Extraction being printed. It probably is a crime in itself that I'm plugging my own video. Capitalism, am I right? The second set to be included was the Big Score, which is the idea that we've been skirting around this whole video, originally planned as an Aftermath style set that was obviously scrapped because the market research wasn't allowed time to develop and then make informed decisions off of. We were just putting in an Aftermath style set that got later scrapped. Everything was was unprinted. And honestly, there maybe were printed packs of this Aftermath style set somewhere, maybe not. I don't know their design cycle that way, but I just know that it takes 3 years for a set to come from idea to fruition. So Aftermath was in that cycle. It was within the last year. And so Outlaws of Thunder Junction was supposed to be a follow-up to that. But we know what happens when products like that get released, right? I mean, it literally happened with March of the Machines Aftermath. When quality control is not left under wraps, we get the Pinkertons. YouTuber Dan Cannon of Old School MTG posted a video of him opening March of the Machines Aftermath boosters, essentially spoiling the cards way ahead of release. And Wizards of the Coast sent the Pinkerton.
But it does not state that they cannot be hired by local town governments and state governments, and this was separate from the federal level. Agent Milton, the leader of the Pinkertons in Red Dead Redemption 2, he represents a typical Pinkerton agent.
Yes, those same Pinkertons from Red Dead Redemption. Literally a mob squad sent to someone's house to shake them down and take back the products and see what's happening. He later explained that the agents threatened jail time and huge fines, after which they took all the product from his house and then left him with the number from WotC employees. They literally left him a calling card like they were the Joker.
Taste for the theatrical, like you, leaves a calling card.
All of this is to say that Wizards of the Coast will be wiping off the stank dirt of March of the Machines Aftermath from their set design boots for a very long time. But it would be really disingenuous, I should say, of me to not mention the fact that a lot of these decisions are money-making decisions. A lot of these ideas are kind of just go with it, see what happens, because we need to please the shareholders, aka the big bosses up at Hasbro. And for many of you already know that Hasbro owns Wizards of the Coast, but you might not know that Hasbro is largely unprofitable. Over the past couple of years, Hasbro has repeatedly, over and over again, said in their investor reports that they are losing money in all of their divisions except for Wizards of the Coast. Wizards of the Coast being this beacon of glory and money and making profit year after year through D&D and Magic the Gathering only goes to show that maybe there would be a different timeline where Hasbro doesn't own Wizards of the Coast and Magic the Gathering would be going down a different route. That could be a different timeline. Maybe Magic the Gathering would fail because a lot of these money-making decisions do bring people in. Universes Beyond is a good example of this, where these decisions are not great for enfranchised players or competitive players, I should say, where these cards are kind of providing that immersion break, which is not an argument I really work with, but provide this crazy variety that bring people in with the IPs that they can relate to. In another world, maybe they don't do these because they just work set by set. They don't have to please big corporations, and we don't have all this product fatigue everywhere with all these secret layers and all this stuff. But that's a whole other world. I think it's still worth mentioning the fact that I don't want to discount Wizards of the Coast completely. I understand where these decisions are made, and ultimately there probably is a large swath of creators, designers, and just general employees at Wizards of the Coast that are looking out for the best interests of the consumer. They just want to make a game that has a succinct storyline and really engaging gameplay. Ultimately, those decisions are being wound up and guided by the shareholders at Hasbro. I want you to let me know, what do you think? Was March of the Machines and the Aftermath set a big failure in your eyes? Did you have good pack experiences or gameplay experiences with those sets? And is the set Outlaws of Thunder Junction really being influenced by any of these decisions? I mean, it almost was, but it really feels like story-wise, the jammed-in story that's happening with the new Grogu of MTG, just kind of the pushed-in different set symbols, confusing players opening packs. It's gonna be really weird to understand if these cards are gonna be standard legal or not. There's gonna be a lot of searching that new players have to do. So the confusion, was it really worth it? I don't know.